want to use? I need to go flower power, or I can... I'll use the cute furry fluffy animals. That's what I use. Oh, this opening hand isn't too good. Search me my cards. Wait a second. Swim. I'll go ahead and let him do that. I keep forgetting that when it's on this mode, it just doesn't. Okay. Oh boy. What is this simple mode? Computer decides when to auto skip. Oh, okay. I don't friggin' do this again. I hate that. Oh. No. Since this boy has 1800 more. More attack than me, I'll do that. Get over this boyo. Set this and then my turn. How to play Yu-Gi-Oh! 101, just don't do it, it's a lie. You don't. Like, I'm not actually playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now. I'm just a figment of Yu-Gi-Oh!'s imagination. Wow, my finger smells weird. Yes, I am. Tribute. I summoned the unicorn. Boop. Direct. My unicorn is unstoppable. Yosh. I've spotted the enemy. This game can go three ways. Either it can go very fast, very slow, or in between. Shit, I can't use his ability yet. This game is confusing me, honestly. fuck? Because I just only act like I know what I'm doing, I swear. I mean, I know what I'm doing. I swear. I've played this game before, I think. So when he goes to do this, I just do this, right game, and then I do that, and then his monster goes bye-bye. Okay. Glad I know that game. Thank you for teaching me. Totally have no idea what I'm doing, I swear. I've never played this game before. I'm a day one noob. Confirmed. Ooh! That's what I like to call game. I'm gonna use a harder deck to use. JK, this deck isn't too hard, I think. I hope. I mean, if you have any questions about anything, you can ask and I'll explain. Although, I don't even... It's okay, I don't know how to play this game, so it's okay. Oh boy. Give me a horrible hand, why won't you, game? It's okay. If you want to ask me the basics of this game, I can easily tell you that. Okay, so basics of this game. There's like give me a second, I had to think, but there's the basics of the game. To start off, both players have to have a deck that's between 40 to 60 cards, 40 being the minimum, 60 being the maximum. And both players have to have, like in the deck, they can have no more than 3 copies of one card each. Unless if you're playing by tournament rules, depending on the tournament, you'll have a ban list. You can only run a certain amount of cards, and or you can't run certain cards at all, etc. So when you figure out like that, you know, when you get your deck all set up, it's got the 40 to 60 cards, whatever, and you've got no illegal cards whatsoever, which don't use this video for reference because I have a lot of illegal cards I'm using. This is an older format. You can duel the person. Before dueling, you have to... You can like rock, paper, scissors, or roll dice, whatever. Let's see who goes first. Before anyone can even start, you have to shuffle and cut and decide who goes first. Shuffling, you probably already know, you just shuffle the deck, hand it to your opponent to cut. They can either shuffle it or cut it however they feel. God, this game is fucking me over. I'm getting nothing. And from there, whoever's going first, both players will draw 5 cards. Both players have... You can honestly have any set amount of life points. If you so choose, you can have any set amount. But in actual tournaments, it's different. Actual tournaments, you'll be playing by 8,000 life points, unless stated otherwise by the tournament. But this is casual play. I'm going to say this from a casual play standpoint. So, both players are going to have 8,000 life points and or 4,000 like in the video, in the anime if you so choose. Since we're casually playing and having fun. And when that's all established, you're all shuffled up, the player who's going first, well, after everyone's drawn and all that, player who's going first, they do not draw a card. So they start out with the 5 cards in their hand, and they begin, well, they skip the game. The game has multiple phases: draw phase, standby phase, main phase 1, battle phase, main phase 2, and end phase. All that together, I know this is a lot, but it's going to make more sense the further I go. Beginning player does not draw, so they skip draw phase and go into standby phase. What standby phase is the phase where you have a moment to check all the cards in your hand, check all the cards in the field, etc. Check your graveyard, check your banish zone. This is your standby phase. You're on standby. You're looking to see what you can do. Nothing really ever really goes on, though. A lot of people tend to skip standby phase. I mean, you don't skip it, but many people tend to just bypass it unless they have an ability to activate or whatever effect. Main phase 1, this is where you will be doing all of your things, like all of your stuff. This is where you'll be doing your summoning mainly, your activating of spell and trap cards and or setting, and you can also activate effects and stuff during this time of monsters and or card effects of other things like spells and traps, etc. But since this is the first player going, the only thing that they're really going to be able to do is either normal summon, set, or special summon, given they have an effect that allows them to special summon. And they're just more or less, the first player's just setting their field up. They're just setting their field. Like you seen me do when I went first. I summoned things in the other game and I set a lot of cards. That was me setting up the field. That's what the first player pretty much does, unless they're running a deck that pretty much first turn wins for them through a card effect. So, knowing this, main phase 1, you're setting your field up, and then since you're the first player, you don't battle. There's no battle for the first player. They skip and they go into main phase 2. Main phase 2 is like main phase 1. This is where you can activate, summon, etc. And then end phase. End phase does not technically end your turn. It is your end phase. It is still your turn. End phase, the end of your turn, isn't until you say end my turn, and then it goes to your opponent. You can still be in end phase because like draw phase and standby phase, end phase, you can do things. You can activate abilities. You just can't, so to speak, do things like normal summon and all this other stuff without activating effects. Now I'm going to get into normal summoning and what you do, because I just want to get through some of these basics. So those are your phases. And once you end your turn, it is end of your turn. It goes to your opponent. Their draw phase, since they're second going, they will draw. Standby phase, they can, check their stuff. Main phase 1, summon their stuff. The second player to go can attack first, since the first player already has their field technically set up. And pretty much, you do exactly what the first player did, except you have more, you can battle, main phase 2 and all that. Now, this game works on turns. There's a turn counter in the bottom right hand corner. It's important for certain decks to pay attention to turns and stuff like that. There's a turn counter, there's a life point counter. You even have a set, depending on what you're doing. If you're playing the game, you're gonna have a counter for your grave and banished and deck and all that to tell you how much you have left, but IRL it's not really like that, so whatever. But okay, so now that we've got through that, give me a second. So, I almost forgot to say, so now that we're through that, we can talk about the field setup, since we know the turn orders and all that. And if it's okay if you don't really understand it all, I got a trophy, I want to check it out real quick. It's okay if you don't understand it all, it makes more sense when you do it and play. I'm gonna go with my Red Eyes deck. So, how a field is usually set up, this is the old format of field. I say old format because recently there was a new mechanic released in the game. It's a completely different field now. Completely different setup. But, fuck the new stuff. We hate the new stuff. All of us do. We hate it. So this right here, what I'm playing, is like the holy grail. Everyone loved this. But whatever. So as you see on the screen though, if it catches up, you see all these squares everywhere, rectangles, whatever. This is the field. The field is set up like this. I should start out with the very basics of it. There are two sides of the field, your half, your opponent's half. You can't put your cards onto your opponent's side of the field unless do a card effect or otherwise stated. You can't put it into their graveyard, you can't put your cards into their deck, whatever, unless stated otherwise. Their field is their field, your field is your field. Whatever. There's no sharing fields unless you're in a tag team battle. So it's just one-on-one. You have your own sides of the field. So, we're going to start out with a little basic here. The deck. The main deck. Yeah, the main deck area, place, slot, whatever you want to call it. You see on my side it's on the very right hand bottom corner. That is where my main deck is. That is where all of your like spell, trap cards, and main deck monsters go. If you look to the very left, you'll see like 12 cards on my left side. That is an extra deck. This is where all of your extra deck monsters go, like fusion monsters, XZ monsters, and synchro monsters. They do not belong in the normal main deck, I should say. They don't belong there. They do not go back there. They will either go into the extra deck, or if they're destroyed or something, they'll either go to the grave or banished. If they're sent back to hand, they don't go to your hand. Extra deck cards go to extra deck. So, those are the two basic ones right there. Another one is the field itself. You'll see 5 slots on top, 5 slots on bottom. The 5 on top are monster zones. The 5 on the bottom are spell and trap card zones. And then we're going to get into the other little basic parts of the field. Very top left corner, you see this little compass rectangle. That is your field spell card zone. That is where field spells go. Specifically, field spell cards do not go anywhere else besides that little area if you put them on the field. They don't go in the spell and trap card zone. Now, look over here at this little like yin-yang thing. That is the graveyard. That's your graveyard. You can call it a discard pile, but it's actually called a graveyard in this game. It's not like a discard pile. It's where all your destroyed, discarded, etc. cards go. And then you look to the right of that, there's an X'd out box. That's your banish zone. That's where cards go if they are completely removed from the game. But they're out of the game, but they can still be used through card effects, etc. I say that because this game gets a little more complicated with that stuff. Now for the more advanced things. The blue and red kite looking things, little gems, whatever. those are pendulum zones, where pendulum monsters go. Pendulum monsters are in the main deck, unless they are a fusion, XZ, synchro monster, etc. Then they'll go into the extra deck. You don't gotta worry about pendulums. I mean, I played a pendulum deck. That was the first one I played, with the little furry animals. That's how pendulums look. Alright, let me just get this going. Each card differentiates from each other. Monster cards, you have your normal monsters, which on the stream it'll show this is a normal monster. The one that I'm currently on, Red Eyes Black Dragon, that's a normal monster. The one to the left is an effect monster. They have a different shade of brown, or tan, whatever you want to call it. Effect monsters will be darker in color with their card color, while effect ones will be lighter. They will not have an effect, they'll just have a description underneath of some words or whatever. While an effect monster does not have a description, it has an effect. So okay. Now, another thing I should explain, let me just set this up real quick. I'm gonna go into a little more depth about the cards after I summon this and set my cards. Get this turn over with. Son of a bitch. I got you baited. Well, either way, since that happened, I'll just continue my explanation. So, each card differentiates from each other. You've got your monster cards, your spell cards, and trap cards. Monster cards range from normal monsters, effect monsters. Anything that has an effect technically counts as an effect monster, but there are different kinds of monsters. There's normal monsters, effect monsters, there's XZ monsters, which are these, should come up on the screen, it's like these black cards. Fusion monsters are purple in color with their card color, and synchro cards are white. You also have these monsters called ritual monsters, which they have a blue color to their card. Now, I know there are a lot of these different monsters, there's pendulum monsters, ritual monsters, there's all these different monsters. And what about the spell and trap cards? Well, spell and trap cards are not just spell and trap cards. They also have things that differentiate them from each other. They have certain types. There are different categories of, well, not different categories, but what would you consider it? Probably like sub-genres to a main genre. There are normal trap cards and normal spell cards. They are, well, you know, I'll start out with the trap cards because it's a lot simpler. There's a normal trap card. You can tell if something is normal on a trap or spell if you look in the right hand corner where in the little brackets it says trap card. If it's a normal trap card, it won't have any symbol next to it. So it'll just say trap card in black brackets. It should be on the screen. Should be able to see it. So it's like normal trap card. Okay, well, give me a second. So there's normal trap cards, and then there are continuous trap cards and counter trap cards. If you look on the screen now, it should be caught up hopefully. This trap card in the black brackets has a little infinite sign next to it. That means it is continuous. And a counter trap, I don't know if I have any in this deck, will have a little like arrow, that's a little half curved arrow on it that looks like it's flipping something. If I can get one, I'll show you on the screen. But those are the 3 different kinds of traps. Spells have more to them than just like that. There are quite a few different little categories, so to speak. First, starting off as a normal spell. In the black brackets, there'll be no symbols. Just normal spell. Then you have, oh god, continuous spells, which are just like continuous traps. There's a continuous sign in them. Now, instead of there being a counter spell, there's a quick play spell. A quick play spell will not have a little like loop arrow in it. It has like a lightning bolt zigzag sort of thing in the corner, in the black brackets. And that pretty much, it's like almost the equivalent to a counter trap. Almost. It's not quite the equivalent, but it's almost there. It tries. It tries. Then we get into a few other different little areas of it. So after the continuous and the quick, there's field spells. They are their own little subgenre, whatever you want to call it. They will have that same compass that you see in the top left corner for the field spell card zone. That will be on the card. And that will be in the brackets. Now, then we get into a few more. There are also ritual spell cards. Now, instead of having, like, the symbol for that in the bracket is like a little, like a little cauldron with a flame coming from it. If that makes any sense. If I can find one, I'll show it to you. I'll bring up the different card types here on the screen. But then you have equip spells too. Equip spells, the little, like, they are exactly what they say. They equip to things. They're equip spells. They will have, in the little bracket, it'll have a circle with a cross, sort of like a, I don't know, like a crosshair sort of look to it. And it pretty much does that. It's an equip spell. It attaches to something. It's sort of the same idea as an enchantment from Magic. But that all taken in stride, the game is, I don't want to say well balanced, but it has its diversity in through the 3 different card types. So, knowing all this, although it was a lot, I will admit it was a lot, pretty much, here's how you can see a constructive turn. I can go into a little more detail on this, but there's a formula behind this game. There is an idea behind it. There's a strategy behind it too. There's a lot behind it. It's not just senselessly summoning cards and hoping you win, unless you're running a deck like that. But for anyone that plays the game, like actually plays it, you can't just do whatever you want, like in the fucking video games or whatever. Not the video games, the anime, where you see them doing the impossible. There's a structure to the game. It's more organized than most card games. Now, give me a second, I'm attacking real quick. Not fucking attacking, apparently. No, wait, I am. Because this doesn't get destroyed, so fuck you, sir. But pretty much when it comes to monster cards, how it's formatted is you get 1 normal summon per turn, unless stated otherwise by card effect. Card effects tend to trump game rules and mechanics. It's broken. It honestly is. For whatever reason. but whatever. It's just a game. So, pretty much, you get one normal summon per turn. And you can normal summon, okay, I'll talk to you about the different levels of monsters, because yes, there are levels in monsters, and I'm pretty sure you've seen it before, but they require certain things. As in, certain things to be summoned. As in, okay, this level requires this many tributes. Or this requires you to do this, whatever. They have summoning conditions. Oh boy. Summoning conditions can be tricky. But we'll be hitting the simpler parts of it. I'm trying not to force feed you so much here. It's a lot, but it gets more easier the further we go. And if you really want to stop me and ask anything, then I can like tell you stuff. So okay, let's like right here have a little like standby part. Whatever you want to ask up to now, you can ask if you have any questions about anything in particular, even if it's off topic about the game. Even if it's something we haven't touched, you can ask and I can answer right away. So okay. Whew. Now, since this is over, I can go into the actual deck builder and show you the different levels. Okay. We're going to go... it's with each monster, whatever. We'll buy the level. Okay. We'll start out with this. Tell me once it's caught up. It should just be sitting on a screen right now with a bunch of cards that are normal monsters.
I think it's caught up. There's a stat.
Yeah, it's caught up. So, alright. I'm gonna do a quick little run through. So, levels on monsters. Every monster besides XZ monsters has a level. Rather it be an extra deck or main deck, they all have levels. These levels mean how much, like, yeah, you know, this is its level, like this is what it means, but it also means how much it's needed. It's like its own value, like how much is needed to tribute to summon this, and or how much will it be towards summoning something like in a ritual summon, whatever. We'll get into that. As you see, the card in the field, the card on the screen is a level 1. I'm gonna skip through this fast because this is very basic and simple. Levels 1 all the way to 4. Let me get to a level 4. All of them can just be normal summoned or set without having to be tribute, like without having to tribute summon it. The only reason you have to tribute to summon or set is if it's a card effect, or its summoning condition, I should say, because summoning conditions do not count as effects when it comes to certain cards. But all that aside, a normal summon is simple. Take your monster that's level 4 or lower, or hell, if you have the cards that you can tribute, then take your level 5 or higher and tribute whatever you need. And when you normal summon in attack mode. That's how you can normal summon. Attack mode is facing right side up, like it's facing forward. defense position is facing like sideways. If you set a monster, it is face down sideways, like in defense position. It's in defense position when you set it. So those are your different like positions for a card. Face up attack, face down defense, or face up defense. There's a card that allows you to have a face up attack monster, but it's just through a card effect. And it does practically nothing for you. So whatever. So knowing this now, level 1s through 4 can just be summoned. They can be normal summoned. I'm covering normal summons right now. I'll get into special summons and stuff like that. Now, moving on to level 5 and 6. Let's get a level 5 up here. Level 5, real quick. Curse of Dragon. And a nice level 6. There we go. Yeah. Air Eater. What the fuck that has to do? Level 5 and 6 require 1 tribute. You can tribute any monster on your side of the field. Any of your monsters to normal summon and or set a level 5 or 6 monster. Very simple. You do not need to tribute any more, and you cannot tribute any less, just 1 monster, unless a card effect and or summoning condition says otherwise. Now, moving on, level 7 and up. Level 7, because the highest level in this game is 12. Unless you use card effects to boost the level, which it won't matter because your card's already on the field by then. So, the game goes from level 1 to level 12. Highest being 12, lowest being 1. Level 7 and up require 2 or more tributes. I say 2 or more because I'm going to go into a little detail about that, but anything that is level 7 to 12 requires 2 tributes of any of your monsters on your side of the field. There are exceptions because certain cards, like the Egyptian God cards that are level 10, require 3 tributes to be normal summoned. There are other cards like the Egyptian God cards that also require 3 to be normal summoned. That's nothing really too special. It's still normal summoning. It's still basic. But those are the only exceptions. Now, we're going to go into a little bit of the special summoning aspect of it, the basic side of it. Any card that has an ability that can be special summoned, whatever the level, because you can special summon any level. There's no restriction to how many times you can special summon unless you feel you're filled. You can special summon only during your turn unless a card effect or summoning condition requires you to do it on your opponent's turn. But we'll get into that. I'm telling you this now because I don't want to just lead you astray with thinking, oh, well, it's like this. It's this set thing. And then in reality, it's another thing. Now, when you special summon level 1 through 12, as long as you meet its conditions to special summon, because in order to special summon, there are conditions. You either use a card effect, or you use a card summoning condition, whatever, but you can special summon whatever. So, for example, I'll bring up a card. See if I can find one. Okay, yeah, this is actually great. This is a great example. This is a great. Damn it, did not mean to put that there. You know what? I have one in the deck, I'm pretty sure. Whatever. I'm trying to find a card that just special summons itself regardless. Because it's like the most basic form is like, oh, you can special summon this or whatever. Which probably mean that I'd need to... Nah, it doesn't care. Try to scroll down to one that just special summons itself. Well, I mean, these Burning Abyss cards special summon themselves, but they require you to have no face up cards in the field, I believe. But it's actually their effect. It's their effect that does it. If you control no spell or trap cards, you can special summon this card from your hand. Okay, I'll use it as an example, but I'll remove... Okay, think of it this way. Okay, so this card says it can be special summoned from having no spell or trap cards on the field. As long as you have no spell and trap cards on the field. Sadly, though, this has a one-time use, but you can special summon this card from your hand, this graph right here. I want to enlarge it. How do I enlarge it? Show details. Oh, I have to hold it? Okay, so pretty much it has no limitation to its special summon except for the fact that it limits itself and it can only be used... The effect can only be used one time, which is why I didn't want to use it. But if a card says you can special summon this from your hand without... And it doesn't have any conditions, it just says you can special summon, like off of itself, then you can special summon that as many times as you want from your hand and or graveyard and or main deck. Oh, if this card's in your hand and whatever, you can special summon this, then you can special summon that as many times as you want, as long as the card doesn't say you can only do this once. So normal summoning is just basic. It's its own thing, it's basic. Special summoning is a little different because you can do it as many times as you want. There's no limitation to it. As you've seen in the last duel, I kept summoning and summoning and summoning cards. I was special summoning through a card effects. Yes, that is how I was able to do it so many times. You have no limitation to how many times you can do that unless you fill your field up. So, when I said that levels matter because of ritual summoning, ritual and synchro summoning are sort of like the same thing. Fusion summons don't matter, and XZ summons also matter for the level. So ritual, let me go to the card frame, whatever. Ritual. Oh, yes, I'm going to use Brio. I love Necros. Okay, we'll show the card detail. As you see here, it is blue. It'll catch up, but it's blue. The card's level, it has a level. It's not like it... It's not... It is a special monster. It's sort of like an extra deck monster, except it's in your main deck. Think about it that way. It has its own level, but in order to special summon it, it requires you to use a ritual spell card. Now I'll show you a ritual spell card. So we'll go to the Pretty Mirror one. And then once it catches up. So, the ritual card. It will tell you what it can specifically summon. And as you see, it has like a little flame thing up in the top right corner. It will tell you what you can summon with it. What ritual monster. It will also tell you the requirements. In order to summon this ritual monster, you need either... It depends on the ritual card, because certain ritual monsters require you to have the exact number for their level. So you have to tribute the exact amount. While others are lenient. They allow you to tribute equal or more. As long as the more covers the however much level you need, then you can do the 2 to 3 to 5 monsters, whatever. So, knowing this, I'm going to go back to ritual monsters. Okay, go to ritual monsters. God, I'm sucking at this navigation. We're going to go to Unicore. So, ritual monsters, knowing this, each ritual monster has its own level. And each level requires you to, well, you have to use a ritual spell, but you have to tribute that amount. If you have a level 4 ritual monster, then the thing you have to tribute either has to be level 4 or add up to level 4. unless a ritual spell card says you have to tribute this exact amount. If you can only tribute one monster whose level equals the ritual monster, then you have to tribute that, unless otherwise stated. When you do that, then you will ritual summon, which is a special summon. It sounds complicated, but it's literally like saying, okay, 4 equals 4, summon. That's all that is. Now, we're going to get into the fusion summons. Fusion monster here, purple. Fusion monsters are also summoned through special summoning, but they call it a fusion summon. Just like ritual summoning, the only difference is they do not require a certain level. They require certain monsters or cards, etc. It'll tell you on the fusion monster what is required to summon it. The spell card that you can use to fusion summon can be a few things here. Let me just bring it up. Spell card. It's a normal one. So, name starts with a P. Oh boy. Where's my polymerization? There it is. Once it catches up, as you see, when it does catch up, it specifically tells you that you can fusion summon one fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as fusion materials. Now, when you ritual summon, fusion summons and ritual summons are like the same thing in regards to what you can use to summon. You can use materials. Materials are the monsters you use to summon these monsters. Both require a spell card. And you can use that. There are certain trap cards you can use that summon out ritual and spell cards, but we're going to keep that for later. That's the more advanced stuff. This is the basic stuff. So polymerization here is a card that allows you to fusion summon monsters. Now this is a general card. It allows you to generally fusion summon anything unless a card states otherwise that it has to be summoned through this card. Fusion monsters are more lenient. They can be summoned through polymerization unless stated otherwise, but not too many cards are too one-sided. You need this card in order to summon it. Like ritual monsters require a certain ritual card to be summoned, pretty much. So both go hand in hand, but have different aspects. One requires level, while the other just requires specific monsters. Okay, now moving on, we're going to get into synchros. Synchros. Okay, synchros. We're going to pull up one of my favorites. Synchro monsters are the exact... They're an extra deck, just like XZ and Fusion. Only thing is they're like ritual monsters without the need of a ritual spell. In order to summon a synchro monster, you need to tribute one tuner, which is a type of monster, we'll get into that, and then a non-tuner. But both monsters have to have a level that equals the synchro monster, just like the ritual cards. Only thing is it's a lot more... It's a lot less clunky and slow. You can get a synchro out faster than you can a ritual unless you're using a deck that just speeds them out. Gives them a good old Lucio boost of speed. Yeah, whatever. Really simple, you just do that. XZ monsters, this is another one that requires... It's sort of like ritual and synchro, except the difference is it requires 2 of the same level monsters, and you have to stack them on top of each other. They don't go to the graveyard or get banished or get sent back to deck, etc. You do not need a card to bring these cards out unless it states on the card. So if you have 2 level 7 monsters, like it says on this card, you can stack them on top of each other and summon this. It does not have a level like the rest. It has a rank. A rank pretty much is like a level in many ways, except it does not count as a level. It is a rank, and it's on the different side of the card. It's on the left side instead of being on the right side. Certain ranks require... certain cards can be summoned through certain ranks, but that is more advanced stuff. So now that we've covered all that, we get into the last one, which is like inherent summons. Oh boy. Aren't they fun? Inherent summons are a bitch. Not even insulting the game. They're a bitch. Because they trump everything. An inherent summon isn't counted as an effect. It is its own summon condition, and it cannot, in a sense, be stopped through normal means. You have to go the extra mile to stop it. Inherent summons, pretty much what that is a card summons itself. Is my mom home? Give me a second. Anyways, inherent summons pretty much a card brings itself out and or is brought out through a card effect. And hello. And it, in a sense, can only be stopped by certain cards. It just forces itself out onto the field, if that makes any sense. Yeah. So, it's a little bumpy, it's like a bumpy ride. Inherent summons are something in the game that it's tough to explain without showing. Because there's controversy behind it, because it just... many people are like, oh, well, it's like a chicken way of summoning things. Because it inherently summons itself, and it can't be touched by anything unless with certain cards. I say certain cards because I don't want to go into specific cards, because that's not going to give you much of anything to work off of, since we're not there yet. So, inherent summons are not too big in the game, if that makes any sense. There are a few cards that do it, but it's one of those things where you don't really have to worry about it too much. Inherent summons are more... I think they're more tactical. I think they're more like, okay, I'm doing this to summon this card. I don't want it to be really touched by normal means, so I'm just gonna force it out. Can't do anything about it. Haha. Whatever. So that's all the different summoning things. Oh boy. Now we're gonna get into like effects and activating spell and trap cards and effects of monsters. Spell cards can only be activated on your turn, unless it's a quick play spell and or continuous spell, which at that point, if it is a quick play spell, in order for it to be activated on your opponent's turn, it has to be set first, unless stated otherwise by a card effect. It's like a trap card. Trap cards, I'll go into the basics. So, I'm getting too caught off. Here, I'm cutting myself off. God, fucking surrender. I need to surrender this, because I'm not being able to pay attention. So, if it makes sense, we're going to go with the basic stuff here. Okay, so spell cards. We have a normal spell. They can only be activated on your turn during your main phase. Your main phases, I should say. 1 and 2. quick play spells can be activated during the in-between phases too that you have. Quick play spells can be activated at any time in the game, especially if it's set first. It works like a trap card when it's like that, but we'll get there. Continuous spell cards are like normal spell cards. In a sense, you have to activate them during your main phase, but after they're activated, they're continuous. They stay on the field, even during your opponent's turn. So they'll stay face up on the field unless stated otherwise. I'm trying to pick a deck here real quick. I don't know what I want to choose. Speedrun. So then we go into like our ritual spell cards. They can only be activated during your main phases unless stated otherwise by card effect. That's when you're summoning things though, so it's really going to be in your main phase. Field spell cards, they can only be activated in your main phase as well. It's just like a continuous spell, except it stays in the field spell zone. Now, activating, pretty much activating versus setting when it comes to spell cards. If you activate it, put it in the spell card zone, spell and trap card zone, face up, and if it's a like normal spell card, it'll activate, do its thing. If it's a continuous card, it'll just stay there. If it's a quick play, it'll act just like a normal spell, and it'll just go to the graveyard after use unless otherwise stated. Field spell cards stay face up on the field. You can activate them or set them. When you set a spell card, if it's a normal spell card, you can't activate it during your opponent's turn. You can only activate it during your turn on your main phase. Quick play spells, when they're set, they cannot be activated until the next turn. Not your next turn, but the next turn of the game. Continuous spells are the same as normal spells. Once they're set, like you can activate it during your main phase of your turn. If you set a normal spell, field spell, continuous spell, or ritual spell, you can activate them. Like say you set it right then and there, you can flip it face up and activate it. Some people do it as like a joke, but whatever. We're not talking about trolls. So, get that aside. Quick play spells are a little different in the aspect they're like traps, but we're going to get to traps. So you know the activation of them, you know the setting of them. Now we're going to get into trap cards. How the hell did he get super boosted like that? He has... Okay, so it's because of his equip spell. Equip spells are the same way. Forgot about them. You can activate them during main phase. Equip them to your monster. They just like a continuous spell and field spell, they will stay on the field for as long as they're equipped. Now, for trap cards. You must set a trap card before activating it. You can activate it the next turn of the game. Just like a quick play spell. And that's for a normal trap. You set it, and you can activate it whenever after that next turn. Whatever. After your turn's over. Now, continuous trap cards are like continuous spell cards. But you have to set them first. Then activate them the next turn, they'll stay face up. Counter traps, which are like quick play spells, except a lot faster, have to be set first, but then can be activated at any point in response to something. In response. Not just whenever, like how a trap card and continuous trap card can be, unless it has specified requirements, but it can only be activated in response to something. It is a counter to something. And here, give me a second. I gotta do a little thing. So, knowing that, those are your different types of traps. So, and the ways to activate them. Now we're going to go into monster effects. Monster effects can be split up into two little categories. They act like the same as like spell cards, except in the difference of like you have normal like effects and then you have quick effects. Your normal effects are like your normal spell cards. They activate during your main phase and or otherwise specified, but they can only be activated during certain points of your turn. Quick effects can be activated during any point in your turn and on your opponent's turn if specified correctly. Or, you know, that it does that. Quick effects are the same as a quick play spell. Pretty much. So those are that's that. So, now we're going to get into the more gritty speed of the game. Son of a bitch, he's still stronger than me. We're going to surrender and choose a different deck, because fuck, I have nothing. But, into the nitty gritty, we're going to go into the speed of cards. This game is dominated by this thing called spell speed. Spell speed is how fast a card is. And then you're going to get into chain links. We'll talk about that too. Spell speed is how fast a card is. It goes between 1 and 3, but there is a 4. But that's only 2 cards that are spell speed 4. Spell speed 1 is your basic stuff. It's your basic normal spells. It is your field spell, your continuous spell, and ritual spell and equip spell. All of those can be activated on your main phase. They're slow. Main phase, and only then, unless otherwise stated. They are spell speed 1. They are the slower ones. They are the ones that don't really have any say in the matter. Although a continuous effect, continuous spell, can out-trump a spell speed 2 and 3. But it has to already be face up on the field in order to do that, if that makes any sense. So, now we're going to go into spell speed 2. This is where you get all of your trap cards. Every trap card is a spell speed 2, because it has to be set first before activated. Spell speed 2 is quicker. It can be activated at any point in the game. Spell speed 2 is your quick play spells and your trap cards, unless it's a counter trap card, then that's spell speed 3. Now spell speed 2 is a lot more crazier. It's not as defined because there's so many quick play spells. There's so many quick effects. Monster effects also fall under the category of spell speed. A normal monster effect that doesn't say this is a quick effect is spell speed 1. A quick effect is spell speed 2. Spell speed 3 goes to the counter traps. Those are the ones that have to be set first, but then can be activated at any point in response to anything that is required to activate to. Those are the fastest. They cannot be trumped. The only thing that can trump a spell speed 3 is another spell speed 3. That's it. That's that. So, I'm not going to talk about spell speed 4 because those are like 2 cards. Because literally they are like, can be activated at any point in the game, and their effects cannot be negated, and or nothing can be activated in response. So spell speed 4 is the god tier, nothing can happen. Whatever. Now, knowing this, chain links. This is how a chain link will work. You can activate a spell, monster effect, or trap card. That'll be the beginning of a chain. In order to start a chain link, a person must, in response, activate something to that. Say I activate a normal spell card. My opponent, in response, activates an effect. Albeit a monster effect, trap effect, or spell effect. At that point, it becomes a chain link. They will be chain 2. Spell speed this is where spell speed comes in handy, because your spell card, your normal spell card is spell speed 1. So in response, they have to activate something that is spell speed 2. Spell speed 2 responds to spell speed 1. Because spell speed 1 is the slower one. You cannot activate a spell speed 1 in response to a spell speed 1. Because the spell speed 1 will activate and it'll resolve right away, and then you can activate your spell speed 1. Spell speed 2 are the ones that respond and can be activated. I activate a normal spell, my opponent in response activates the effect of a quick spell, quick effect spell, whatever, quick effect monster, whatever, in response. That's Chain Link 2. Now here's how Chain Links work. The person who activates the first card, and then the person who responds. The person who's at the end of the chain link gets their effects off first. So say we're at chain link 4. Chain link 1, I activate something. In response, my opponent activates something for chain link 2. Chain link 3, I activate something. And then in response, chain link 4, they activate something in response. Their effect at 4 goes off first. It goes in reverse. Chain link 4 goes first, then 3, then 2, then 1. That's how that works. It's all good. Of course I get the shit end of the stick with that. Got the shit end of the stick with that. I still don't get anything. What is this game doing to me? It's screwing me over. But pretty much chain links work like that. Its responding player pretty much has upper hand at that point. So you can chain link yourself, or you can chain link your opponent. Whatever. Now that's where spell speed comes into play. Here's how the different spell speeds work in a chain link. Spell speed 1 is like your sort of starter. Spell speed 2 is the in response. Spell speed 3 is the one that ends the chain link unless your opponent or you have another spell speed 3 to in response. If not, then that ends a chain link. So say I start off with chain link 1, opponent in response. Okay, chain link 3, I activate something in response at spell speed 3. If they have nothing that is spell speed 3 in return, chain link ends there. My effect goes off, then chain link 2 goes off, then 1. So that's how that goes. It's weird, but it makes more sense when you do it. Oh boy, let me just do this because I'm gonna screw everything over. Look at this. Pop this. Son of a bitch. Never mind. You're gonna see a chain link pop up. Okay. Perfection. That is what a chain link looks like when it plays out. When it catches up. And now that you know this, you can like view this stuff and understand a little bit better. That hey, oh he does this. Oh no, trust me. Like it's all good. It's okay. Just everything I've said, just take into thought and go from there. I know, but that's the beauty of it, because when you view it and watch it and think of everything that I said, even if you have to write it down, it'll make everything make more sense. Trust me. Give me a second. I'm a fucking bot and I activated a card by accident. That's gonna destroy my own card. Hate my life. Oof. Stranger makes a sudden movement towards me. Me pops open holster. You ready to be banished to the Shadow Realm, bud? It's a meme. It's a trashy meme. Anyways, after this... Okay, we'll pull that out. Whip this bad boy out. Attack with that bad boy. Boop. Fuck you. End yourself, NPC, AI, whatever. I want to give Dark Souls 3 a shot after this. Okay. Sounds good. True. What? I'm fine. Oh shit. This guy's gonna... Yeet! Just finish this up and make the switch. Oh, wrong card, but that's okay. We'll still be fine. And then we'll do this, and then we'll do this, and then we'll do this. Destroy our own face-up card. So we can get a card from our deck and be fine. Win the game. In one go. Doing them dirty. Boop. Frida's about to get it. I'm gonna spam her. It's okay. You don't have to be very good at the game. Takes a little bit of time. Well, it's just... Oh, you can even run her deck if you want. Well, it's not really so much about damage. Certain decks, yeah, they shit out damage, but... yeah. It's more about how you just... You more or less have to focus on how you play against your opponent, strategically speaking. Anyways, now that that's done, we can end this.